Hey everybody, it's Justin Shackle with new Yankees pitching coach Matt Blake. He was officially named to the position back on November 14th, and he's spending some time here with us now. Matt, right off the bat, you gotta know, how does a guy go from coaching high school baseball in Massachusetts less than 5 years ago to now becoming the pitching coach of the New York Yankees?
Good question. I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I was just learning a lot along the way and trying to reach out to as many resources as possible. I think it's kind of alongside the growth mindset that we talk about a lot with the former team I was with, the Indians, but that's kind of part of the process, is just knowing that there are things to continue to learn and grow on, and I think every opportunity you get gives you a chance to do that. And, I wouldn't say this is where I envisioned being, but here we are.
So what intrigues you so much about mixing video analysis with pitching?
Yeah, I think it's just, as I played myself, I felt like that was something that resonated for me, is being able to watch myself and get feedback maybe after outings, but didn't necessarily have the tool set or the skills to understand the delivery all the way. So I spent a lot of time just learning about that. So as you were finding ways to maybe subjectively or qualitatively look at your delivery, but then use the objective information that we have available to us now to maybe partner with that and maybe triangulate around what good performance looks like. I think it helps just have a more centralized conversation with a player about how they're doing.
I was told by people who had worked with you in the past that studying video analysis, that research you did, was all on your own. You taught yourself this, and we're going back 10 years now when there's really nobody to lean on for information. There are no conferences on this type of work. Why did you think back in 2009 that this was the direction you needed to take to gain an edge in coaching?
Given that I didn't play at a high level, I thought there would need to be something to separate myself, and I think a lot of the way that the game was being explained at that time was very subjective and a lot of jargon. Felt like if you were going to have a real conversation about how someone was doing, it needed to be rooted in science, it needed to be objective. So trying to learn as much as I could about how the body's supposed to move and then bring that back to the technical skill of pitching was a place that maybe a lot of people weren't spending time, and it seemed like in other areas, maybe track or things like that, they were spending a lot of time. So there was a model for it, it just wasn't in baseball at that point.
Back then, how strong did you feel that this was the direction the game would eventually go?
I don't know if I knew that it was definitely going this way. I felt like the tools were being more readily available, both on the computer and via cameras, to maybe partner with players and review their performance. And then as more high-speed video became available and then TrackMan became a thing, more tools are being layered onto a skill set that I'd already built a foundation on. And I probably had spent more time learning about the body than a lot of people had. So I think I was more prepared to jump on that train when it came by.
What do you think was most impressive to the Yankees with your interview and just what you bring to the table?
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple components to it. One of them was the way that I was able to work in multiple domains and connect with different layers of the puzzle, where I think my time at Cressy Performance, that was one of the things that we've really valued, was that there's this trilogy of the strength coach, the fundamental coach, and the rehab clinician that need to be on the same page. And in a vacuum, it's really easy. When you get to a professional level, there's a lot of layers to it. It becomes a little bit harder. So then it takes a lot of strong communication across domains. And I think the way I demonstrated that in Cleveland was something that resonated for them, as we had a process in place, and it was something that I could bring and help kind of put an architecture around, and there were some really good people in place. It's just trying to bring them together.
People in the industry say that you are really good at connecting the dots when you talk about taking video analysis information and putting it into the hands of the pitcher. What is so challenging about that exchange?
Yeah, I think it's the knowing where the player's at and what level of information they're ready for. I think it's very easy to look at a video and suggest what I think is right, but maybe not at the rate that the player is ready to receive. So it's spending the time to get to know the player and understand what his base level of knowledge is, or his general awareness of his own process of delivery or pitches, things like that, and then kind of meet in the middle and kind of bring it to that the edge of their learning zone, if you will.
Why do you think you've been so successful in this area?
So my degree in psychology is something that I think helped me a lot, and it was one of those things where, when my dad, who had spent a lot of time, was a mechanical engineer, asked me well, what are you going to do with this degree? It's think about what's real in the terms of making money in the real world. And I don't think at that point I would have said I'm going to become a major league pitching coach with it, but I thought it's universal in that connecting with people is really important, and understanding how people relate to each other. So I think it's that kind of foundation in education that kind of gave me the opportunity to be able to connect with people. It's just adding substance to it with more of the objective information.
There are a handful of arms that are close to reaching the big leagues with this club as well. You come from the developmental side. What ingredients do you think are needed to develop young starting pitching in order to put them in a position to succeed long-term in the big leagues?
Yeah, I think it's a strong continuity between the major league and minor league system. I think that's one thing that resonated for a lot of the players that we had success with Cleveland, was that the infrastructure we put together from a resource standpoint, a language standpoint for the player, let them know themselves really well, and then it didn't force them to deviate when they got to the major leagues. And I think that's something here with the infrastructure that we want to put in place at the minor league level is something that we're also going to put in place at the major league level. So there's a lot of consistency and continuity in the information they're receiving and the expectations we have for them, so they don't have to be anything different from the version themselves that they've shown is capable of being in the major leagues.
Thinking about the resources that the Yankees have, what does this job mean to you?
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just, when you think about, what you want to do in the game, and leave no stone unturned. I mean, I think that's what the Yankees are about, is that there's a lot of horsepower here, and it's just a matter of making sure it's pointed in the right direction. So I think as we put the program together and we kind of get all of our resources aligned, it's like there's nothing that really should stop us, assuming that the people are on board and, we are all working together.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for the time, and welcome to New York.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.